got to get back to the ocean. He's got to walk out on the land. A fire burning in his soul burns way out of hand. He hears the spirits whisper on the breeze that begins to blow. They say you should leave this place, walk the red road home. Faces are pale in the city, the air is thick and stale. No one knows you and no one wants to. The wind's voice is a mournful wail, and the rains fall from the sky like mud, and the river flows thick and brown. And he drinks and smokes and forgets what he left behind when he came to this town. In this place he's learned to fear the night. He has to keep his back to the wall. The streets offer little protection. He has to find a warm place to crawl. What is this grip upon him that suffocates from within? He fears death is knocking at his door, and tonight he may let it in. He's got to get back to the ocean. He's got to walk out on the land. A fire burning in his soul burns way out of hand. He hears the spirits whisper on the breeze that begins to blow. They say you should leave this place, walk the red road home. Well, there's buildings where there should be mountains, forests of people instead of trees. There's no cool, sweet grass to stand on. The pavement burns hot under his feet. When he dreams of his childhood. When he wakes up crying. When he came here, he thought he was a man. Well, he's not yet, but he's trying. Now the spirit voices say, listen to us. Go back to what you know. Go back to the evil, the bear and the wolf. Go back to the raven and crow. They're your brothers sent to stand with you and guide your journey home. Not like in the crowded city where you always stand alone. You've got to get back to the ocean. He's got to walk out on the land. Well, there's a fire burning in his soul. It burns way out of hand. And he hears the spirits whisper on the breeze that begins to blow. They say you should leave this place, walk the red road home. Yeah, they say you should leave this place, walk the red road home.
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Joy Hamilton. I'm your host. We have a very special guest today, and her name is Auntie Kate. Welcome, Auntie Kate.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for
Well,
inviting me.
Nice to have you. Tell us a little bit about that beautiful song that you just sang.
I fished through a bunch of old lyrics that I had written, and this one had the date on it of May 1994. So that's when I penned this, and we never ever put any music to it. It just sort of languished in the piles of music and lyrics as the years went on. And when we were going to do this show, my guitar player said, "Well, let's do that. Let's put some music to it." So we worked it up over the last week or so. I wrote it. It was about sort of like the plight of our Indigenous people that come to the city, and we do our best to try and make it work, but so often we just fail at it, and we don't adjust to the city life as much as back home. Mm-hmm. So I wrote it about that, and there was at that time there was a book, a coffee table book, that was just a pictorial. It was pictures of the street people, the homeless people, the people who lived downtown, mm-hmm. and there was captions. Some of them had captions, their own words they spoke, and a lot of those inspired this song to come about. And,
it is very moving.
Well, thank you.
It has a lot of deep emotional meaning to it.
Yes.
And so what were you thinking, or what else was going through your head when you write these songs, or when you, is it the emotion of the people themselves, or the place, or?
Absolutely. Writing songs is difficult for me. I'm not a songwriter per se, as some people are, but when a subject or when a situation hits me, it's sort of like the words just sort of come very easily, and this one just sort of wrote itself. But as I said, it was a long time ago. It was 1994, and yet it's still current today. Mm-hmm. Because so many people just don't make it in the city. They think they're going to make it, but they don't.
No, they don't. That's unfortunate.
It's sad.
It is sad. Yeah. But can you tell us a little bit about your background?
My background, I was born and raised on Salt Spring Island. Mm-hmm. My father was Hawaiian, First Nations, and English, I would say. European. I usually say European because it's really hard to figure out if he was from England or Scotland or Wales, because it goes back way back into the early 1800s, 1700s. Mm-hmm. So their situation over there was different more than it is today. So European, First Nations, and Hawaiian. And on my mom's side, mostly Scottish. I believe Scottish, and way back she has some Indigenous roots back around Fort Langley. All of my relations come through the fur trade era. My original Hawaiian ancestors came over in 1811 and built the first trading post here on the coast. It wasn't here in British Columbia. It was at the mouth of the Columbia River, which is the border between Washington and Oregon states. Mm-hmm. This huge area. It was most of Northern California, Oregon, Washington, and most of BC. They called it the Columbia District. So it wasn't U.S., it wasn't British, it was this area of land. The British and the Americans were always fighting over it. The Americans called it, what did they call it? Oh, they called it Oregon Territory, and the British called it the Columbia District. The same piece of land, just two different ideas of who owned it at the time.
So what was the First Nations? What is the background like?
Well, I really can't trace that background very well, because both my great-grandmothers on my father's side were Indigenous women, but the names they were given were Annie Fisher and Catherine Brown, which is not their traditional names. If they had their traditional names, we could probably place them from where they came from.
I see.
But without those traditional names, I've asked many elders through Cowichan and Seashelt and wherever I could, do you know these names? And they go, no. If they had a proper
But a lot of Indigenous and Native people have lost that.
Oh yes,
You know.
oh yes. I'm certainly not.
So of course they were given English names,
Yeah.
but they had other names. So
Yes.
yeah, well
Yes,
that's
so
too bad.
I did the DNA thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it showed that my First Nations roots, they call it a haplogroup.
Mm-hmm.
One was C from my grandmother's side, and one was D from my grandfather's side. And D was mostly, they said, West Coast Indigenous,
Mm-hmm.
and C was like Plains Indian.
Oh, interesting.
But that's again the fur trade
Mm-hmm.
thing. They'd pick up people on the way across the country and drag them out to the coast, and then they'd be working out here, and they would stay and marry into the communities out here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then you had another part of you with the Hawaiian side. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The Hawaiian side I know way more about than the European side or the Indigenous side here, coast, because I can follow that. My grandmother was half Hawaiian, and her mother was an Indigenous woman. We don't know from where.
Mm-hmm.
Her father was straight out of Hawaii, and we know him. We know his name. We have records of him through the Hudson's Bay Company. We're really good at keeping a lot of written records of people, although they were more interested in recording business deals, but they did have personal log notes, like Naukana was chopping logs today, and so they would mention them by name, so it allowed me to find a timeline
Mm-hmm.
for my Hawaiian ancestor, right back to his father, who was the first ancestor to come up from Hawaii. And then since then, we've been able to go way back in the Hawaiian end of things. So
That's exciting.
it is,
It
and
is.
it's fun for me because I can actually connect to a piece of my lineage, my heritage. You know, whereas the other end's sort of dead end.
Yeah.
You know, I get a little bit into it, and then I say, well, you can't follow that anymore because we don't have the proper names.
That's too bad. I hope one day you'll be able to find that, you know.
I keep working on it.
Yeah.
I've been working on it for over 40 years.
But it's nice that you have that other part, that you're able to know exactly
Yeah.
where all that is from and, you know, where you're from. And I think that's really important to people.
Yeah, we've been working that one hard, the family and I.
Mhm.
Now that we know that we have this the connection to Hawaii,
Right?
I've learned to speak some of the language. I've learned to chant. I've learned to sing, play the ukulele, and sing some of their songs, so that when I'm speaking about our history, it sounds a little more credible.
Well, you have a beautiful voice.
Well, thank you.
I absolutely I love this song. And I know you also have other songs that you have sang. And
Yeah,
that,
I wear many hats when it comes to the musical world. Like this was just my guitar player Tom Bowler, and I have been working together for 43 years.
He's a beautiful player.
Yeah,
Tom
he
Bowler.
plays really well.
Wonderful.
Really well. He plays great lead. He plays good rhythm. He's just an all-round guitar player. Quite often he gets sort of like unnoticed because I'm standing out there in front, you know, being the diva.
So how many years have you been playing?
43 years.
Wow.
I had returned home from Yellowknife. I was in the north for years working when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And I came home in 1980, and Tom had moved to Salt Spring. He'd hooked up with my brother David, who's a bass player, and they had this band going with a few other people. And when I came back, I just started singing with the band here and there, and next thing you know, it just grew, and we're still working it.
Great. You must be having a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. It's it's a lot of work, and the work part of it is not fun. But the actual gig, when you're actually playing the music, that's fun.
Yeah. Well, it looks like fun. It looks like you're really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because it seems like you put your heart and soul into the music.
Yeah, I think a lot of that might be that Hawaiian influence because they're very well, and the First Nations too. You're telling a story,
Right.
and it's not just speaking it. The emotions tell the story too. Like we dance for a reason. It's not just a bunch of people out there doing the funky chicken or whatever. When we dance as Indigenous people, it's telling a story.
That's great. Well, now we're going to listen to another one of your wonderful songs,
Oh,
and
with the uncles.
with the Uncles of Funk. So how did that come about, the Uncles of Funk?
Well, I had, as I said, we started playing together in 1980, and the band names sort of changed as members came and went, and eventually it got so that it was going to be this group.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be me doing most of the lead singing, Tom and the others doing backup, and we played, this was the style of music that really rang with us. And it was funky, and it's blues, and it's R&B, and it's a lot of funk, so I thought, okay. And I don't remember how we came up with Auntie Kate. You know, as I said, my family knew me as Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Catherine. So it was Kathy, well, Auntie Kathy. And the Uncles of Funk just didn't work for me. No. So Kate worked better. So we came up with Auntie Kate, and it was just the Auntie Kate band, which I thought, no, it's not my band.
Yeah.
We are a group.
Right.
So I just sort of kept sliding this in, and the uncles, you know, if I'm Auntie, you're the uncles. So they became the Uncles of Funk because it just flows.
Yeah. Well, this song that we're going to hear, can you tell us a little bit about it and where that came about?
Yeah, it's called After All These Years. It's a blues song.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely blues. And it was written about, you know, I had a friend who was just going through a really rough time. You know, they'd been married for 20, 25 years, 30 years, and things just weren't working anymore. As, you know, it happens in many relationships. And it was sort of like, what happened? Where did it all go? And so this is another one of those songs that the situation was there, I saw what was going on, and then it just sort of wrote itself after that.
Well, I guess we're going to listen to this song now.
Huh.
Okay.
We were at Herman's.
You're at Herman's.
We were at Herman's downtown Victoria.
fun.
Here. Herman's
That's a lot of fun.
upstairs, I think. No, it was downstairs. It was
Downstairs?
live cast during the COVID years.
Okay. Well, everybody, let's take a listen.
Where has the love gone? After all these years, can you tell me where has the love gone? After all these years. We've drifted so far apart, so far. Seems like our love just disappeared. Seems like I can't do nothing right. You tell me everything I do is wrong, and that hurts me, baby. Seems like I can't do nothing right. And we just don't get along. Oh, you got so set in your ways, and you just don't let me in. And I just don't know anymore what's going on. You keep pushing me away. Lately you don't even take me to your bed. take me to your bed, baby. Well, I guess that's why I found myself in a crosstown bar, caught live in a place I wouldn't be caught. I wouldn't be caught. I wouldn't be caught dead. No, I wouldn't be caught dead. Is this what it's all boiled down to? Tell me, baby, 'cause I don't know. After all is said and done, after all these years, you know, I can't leave, I can't go. Oh, no, I can't leave you, baby. Where has the love gone? Where's it gone? After 10, 15, 20 years, after all these years, baby, what went wrong? Oh, you know what? I never even felt you slipping away. I just looked up one day, and there you were. There you were. There you were.
Auntie Kate, that was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
After all these years.
After all these years. Yeah, that's, as I said, the song sort of wrote itself. It was a friend of mine who was going through a rough patch, you know, after many years of marriage, and it was sort of like, where's the love gone after all these years, you know? So again, that sort of song wrote itself.
Yeah.
Blues.
Very bluesy. I loved it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really, I love how you get into your music. It's just so, you know, it really tells a story of just your movements and how, you know, everybody sort of goes in sync. It's great.
Yeah, the light, it's just sort of like a switch. It's a different thing. It's if I put on the glasses and it's just, then I become Auntie Kate.
Yeah. And so you should, right? Like that's just how you must feel,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
music's fantastic. It tells so many stories in itself,
Yeah, it does. It's a fabulous outlet to
I bet it is.
your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes you feel good, I bet,
Yeah.
to be able to sing how you feel, like in certain different things, that come up, right? Or maybe for somebody else, I don't know.
Yeah, and it runs the gamut. It can be really, really happy and sassy and crazy, and it can be really just like that's all. Where did it all go?
Yeah.
What happened?
But you play some pretty funky music, like it's
Yes.
fun to dance to, and it's, makes
Yeah.
you feel great,
I often tell them they don't call them the uncles of funk for nothing. They're so good. I'm so blessed to have a band like that. I often tell people, don't forget that there's a band here behind me. If I was by myself standing up here, it'd be a pretty sad show. I need the uncles. Don't forget them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you seem to all blend together really well, right?
Yes, if you get the right people, and that's they lock into the style of music you're playing. It's like magic. It's just magic.
So tell me, where's the next place you're going to play that we can hear this wonderful music at?
Oh, boy, you got me. We just finished playing most of April. We did Herman's, we did the Queens up in Nanaimo. We played over on Salt Spring. Salt Spring's the hometown.
Right.
I know Tom just called me today and said that we were playing in July at the festival. And I keep getting the name wrong. I just asked him about that. IYAKT. Ayak. I don't know. We played there in July. I don't know if we have anything through May and June. Lots of people away in May and June traveling, so maybe we don't have anything until July. July 28th at Hampton Park.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hampton Park's in Esquimalt, isn't it?
Hampton Park.
By Tillicum.
Yeah, but it's on Tillicum
Tillicum
Road,
area.
off Tillicum Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a great happening.
It will be.
Yeah, it'll be a
Uncles
lot
will
of
be
fun.
there.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on this show.
No problem. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, we've enjoyed having you.
Well, thank you. It's nice to talk about me.
Yeah.
Me.
Well, it's nice talking with you.
Thank you, Joy.
And I want to thank all of you for watching.